So does everyone have any questions?
Hi, I work for Millen Cancer Support, so I've just got a few questions or things that we have to consider, with our wellbeing strategy. So things like resource, finance, and also the fact that we have a very remote workforce. So anything that you guys have, any ideas would be much appreciated.
Talking to this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, these are my thoughts as opposed to anything that I guess is proven. I think in order to shape, a wellbeing strategy to result in the outcomes that you're looking to achieve, yes, of course, who's financing it is going to have an impact on, what, interventions are available. And I think, depending on where that is coming from and the key persons of influence, and getting them on board with what the end goal is in order to drive the spend can be advantageous. But intervention delivery itself doesn't have to necessarily be a costly thing. Something that we have done within our client base is remote webinars, as an example, to target a specific topic. We have found that to be relatively successful, considering it is a remote application. And because of the nature of technology and the number of apps that we have available today, there are free ways of doing that without having a cap on the number of people that are sitting on it. But yeah, trying to figure out, who are the people or persons or boards that are funding the actual, strategy, and figuring out what it is that they would be comfortable with in terms of being outcomes, I think would help to shape a more successful strategy delivery. Just my thoughts, though.
Can I add? So Millen Cancer, yeah? So not the easiest job, but I imagine hugely rewarding. As a psychologist, that's how I would describe my work as well. But you're really at the kind of far end of somebody's last moments. I don't know the Millen Cancer sort of. I don't know how, the plan that you have in terms of supporting your staff. I would hope it's pretty decent. Okay. As a clinical psychologist, I'm not allowed to practice without having supervision. Is that something that you guys get? Do you get sort of reflective practice supervision?
It depends what role.
Right. Because I would say that, it doesn't cost a lot and actually pays for itself if you can. Nobody will know what your job is like other than another Millen nurse. So I would invest some time in reflective practice and supervision. And in fact, I would say the same for any of you who are going to create some mental health champions or wellbeing champions or first aiders, whatever we want to call them, is don't just train them and leave them to it. Look after them. And I would say that for you guys at Millen.
Hi there. This question probably for Marcus. I work for Enterprise RentACar. We're quite a decentralised organisation with lots of different locations around the country with a few regional head offices. Do you see different data in those types of organisations as opposed to a Google or a BBC where you've got thousands of people perhaps in the same place? And
Yeah.
how do you recommend that we kind of tackle that?
Yeah, so interestingly, from my experience of being a physiologist and actually delivering health assessments, all the way from Newcastle to areas of the Midlands and then down to Southampton and Bournemouth, I've experienced myself individual variances in clients that actually come into that particular centre. So they would be from all of the different corporate clients that we have. It wouldn't be, necessarily just one company. And because there are regional differences in the type of people that are coming to those types of assessments, you can almost prepare for the type of person that you're going to see before they've come in for the health assessment. But something that we've created within Nuffield Health is a particular branch of health assessment delivery, which is the on-site division. And that is actually now what I'm responsible for, which is almost like the delivery of pop-up health assessment, so that you could go to a particular office or you could go to a particular location where by assessing the data at that particular location or that particular office, you can actually tailor-make the interventions that suit that particular office. I think some of the examples I referred to where we went to a particular car manufacturing factory to then target an intervention that was relevant to that specific location is a good example of where we've done that. And interestingly as well, being a physiologist, the senior leadership team within Nuffield Health Assessments have all started off as physiologists. So we know what it's like to have to deliver the exact same health assessment to different individuals and give them a different experience. And we apply that same logic to the wellbeing strategy going forward.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm from a company called Ola, and we've just recently launched in the UK. We exist overseas on quite a big level. We're in quite a unique position in that we can build a benefits package and a whole wellbeing strategy from scratch. And I was wondering what your recommendations would be as to what's the most impactful, but maybe some things that are a bit more unique that we can put in place as well.
Is that a question for myself? Anybody? Okay, well, I'll just start off. I've got some immediate thoughts. So one of the benefits of having a World Health Organization is that the recommendations they provide, are applicable to the entire world. But one of the challenges that we have is that there are going to be regional differences because of cultural difference. Things like in this country, you could say you need to go and see your GP to have your cholesterol retested, but you might not be able to do that in another country. So you have a unique challenge and opportunity of delivering or designing a strategy that can apply to the global trends, but also be more specific to cultural differences. So we at the moment have looked at whether or not we could deploy an intervention that could be, worldwide, but it would have to be more of a remote delivery and a digital delivery. So one of the things I mentioned was the predictive analytics. If you could find a tool or a process of establishing risk before designing the intervention, then that, I think, would give you a better idea as to where you should target your energy to start off with.
Can I add? When I was thinking about sort of what we should do in our organisation, of course, I went to Google, who literally down the road from us, not personally, but I went on Google. And basically thinking about, well, what does well-being mean? So well-being, as well as the psychological well-being, we've talked about physical well-being, but actually financial well-being, one of the biggest causes of distress is debt. So ensure that you can give your staff access to good advice, but also career progression. That's also part of our well-being. So there are 4 domains to potentially sort of start thinking about. But also what we're doing is we're asking our staff, what does well-being mean to you? It means flexible working to some people. It means having a working PC, certainly to me, because mine doesn't work. So having a working telephone. I work for the NHS, so the bar is low. So ask people, what would make a difference to you? You'll get thousands of different answers, but it's worth just knowing because, as it Marcus was saying, that there will be regional and cultural differences.
Yeah. Sorry, James, you go on. I'll add after yourself.
And one thing I would say is focus on things that are sustainable. If you're starting something fresh and new, there'll be budget and there'll be excitement and everyone will be very kind of Tara Abundier and hitting the big drum and everyone kind of marching around. But in 2 years' time, those things will still need to be sustainable when different people are there, when a different organisation is growing or attracting, as the case may be. And so look past the things that capture people's mindsets and tries to change their behaviour to actually the infrastructure of the organisation. What policies, what processes, what systems do people have to actually work with? Because you can put some really nice things in place, but if they're completely acting counter to what the line manager's manual and what they have to do day to day, or actually what systems they use, then it won't work. But actually those things can often be extremely cost effective, but also very, very powerful because they're the bedrock on which all of that mindset and behaviour are actually built in an organisation.
And just to add to it, if there is an intervention or if there is a strategy that suits every employee, then I haven't yet discovered it. And even with Facebook, the list of all of the benefits and the perks that they provide their employees, when asked what else would they want, they asked for things like a cricket pitch on site, a swimming pool, and a drone for every employee. So you won't be able to please everyone, so be prepared for that before you start rolling it out.
And just to add to that, I think where I work currently at Deutsche Bank, they've just started to get onto the bandwagon for wellbeing. They introduce surveys and actually asking employees what they want. And while I wish we could have a gourmet chef entertain or feed us every day in today's cost-challenged environment, that's not possible. But I think, as James said, actually asking what makes a difference to employees on a daily basis, I think that's where you actually see real results in your wellbeing strategy.
We saw this Paul Bent from Premier Companies. We saw a stat that the cost of health and wellbeing is 1,205 to 1,560, twice on 2 slides today. Has there been any stats collected on the spend per head that reduces that, and how much by? So £100 spent per person per annum equals a £200 saving in that figure.
I think Bev or I could take this one.
What I do know, it's a good question, and I'm asked that a lot. And what we do know is about mental health awareness training, or mental health first aid training, which was first came out of Australia, fire service, funnily enough, that the return on investment for every £1 you spend on that, you get nearly £10 back. So, you know, it if you do it properly, it works incredibly well, and that's just one thing. Do you want to add?
Yeah, so I can't think of the reference right now, but I have actually presented on that as a topic where I've shown that there has been reduction in specific MSK spend and mental health as well. So if you take my email address after this, I'll be able to send you the report that I've previously presented on. Apologies, I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Hi there. Hi, James. My name is Nina. I work for HSBC and Employee Insight. My question is for anyone, but James in particular. We have, as you know, a comprehensive survey that we run throughout the year, including well-being aspects. But with a company with the size and scale of HSBC, there's always taking in the back of my mind about whether we're doing the proper uncovering of issues that happen across the world. So we refresh the question set, and we're always sort of aware of what the trends are. So we make sure to incorporate that. But I suppose my question is, how do we make sure that we're uncovering issues that really reflect our population and not just our assumptions of what's important?
I think the very fact that you're asking that question means that you're probably a lot further along the line than you could be. I think it's the people that don't think, are we hitting all the right marks, are we doing all the right research, that possibly aren't as close. I mean, the HSBC research covers multi of different facets of well-being, from financial well-being, career well-being, which are two of the things that you mentioned, as well as the mental and physical. I would say there's a lot of best practice out there and a lot of very interesting reports. So often what we find in our own organisations is that no one will take that for granted. You can bring in something from the UN, something from the OECD, something from any organisation you might care to mention, but if it's not their employees at their particular time with their own particular culture, then they won't take it, and they won't take it for granted. So there is that need to make it particular to the organisation that you work for in question. Sadly, people don't think that research that's conducted over there is relevant to them, but research that's conducted there is. So I think there is a necessity to make sure that you are capturing the various forms of well-being, but also making sure that it's specific to the organisation to win the day.